Okay guys, we are at Bugak, one of the most beautiful cliffs in Denmark, and we're gonna film some FPV footage. It's pretty good weather so far. The wind is not that bad. Unfortunately, we have some cloud coverage, but that might actually play in our favor, because then we're gonna get more dynamic range out of our camera. So yeah, we're gonna get set up for the first shot and get everyone involved, and hopefully it's gonna be good. Let's go. Like you see the beach over there. There's a similar beach a little bit down that way. I think you can actually see it from here, and we can get some cool footage there too. It's also pretty windy today, so that will be something to account for. You have to think about the way the wind blows, so it will push your drone, so you will need to counter that. And obviously if the wind is too strong, then it's better to just fly in an area where you have some coverage. Luckily there's not that many people today, so partially thanks to the weather, but it's always a good thing. You don't want to fly close to people. You should always stay at least 30 meters away from people who are not involved in the flight. And you can get up to 5 meters if you're flying in slow speeds, but since we're flying FPV, we're most likely not going to fly in slow speed, so 30 meters. So I think with the first like 1 or 2 batteries, we'll just do a couple of warm-up rounds, kind of feel the wind, see how it affects the drone's trajectory and flight characteristics. And yeah, that should then give us more confidence going down these hills, and especially if we're flying above the water or near the water, you always want to be careful because the drones are not very waterproof. So you could actually, like if we're standing here, we could probably fly all the way to those hills back there and then fly back, which would make for a really nice shot. So they said the sky should clear up in like 1 hour. I guess fingers crossed. So far it doesn't look like it, but at least you get to see Denmark in its most natural environment. I think it would be really cool to fly underneath here, through these little cracks and above the water. I think we're gonna try that. I think I'm pretty confident in seeing what the location is like. So I think we can go back to the car and get our equipment and get it started. I think the first shots that we'll get are gonna be on the other side of the cliff. Then we'll get a few on this side of the cliff, and then a few down here on the beach, and maybe a few over the hills. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll think of something on the way as well. All right, so since we want to have our subject going down the stairs, we obviously don't want to have ourselves, like the pilots and the people looking at the drone, we don't want to have them in the shot, ideally. It just doesn't look that good, usually. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find a spot for the pilot, which is me and Jakub, which is gonna be the observer. And then we're gonna tell the subject what to do and at which point to do it. So you will just go down the stairs.
Should I take out my hoodie?
It's up to you. If you feel more comfortable with the hoodie, you can have it on. But it's basically just, we're gonna find a space for me and Jakub to hide and still get the good range. And then at some point we're just gonna shout, just go, and just gonna go down the stairs. I don't think you need to run or anything, just going down slowly. Cool. And the drone might get quite close to you, so just don't get scared. Try to ignore it and try to like act as if it's not there, to kind of sell the illusion that it's not a drone. Cool. If you have some other people on set, it's a good way to kind of let them know, you know, your framing and what you're actually filming, because you know with the regular camera setup you always have a monitor, so that people who are not filming can see what you're actually filming. And with FPV, since you're the only one seeing the goggles, the other people kind of have no way of, you know, having a say in what you're actually filming. So especially if I'm with the client, I would always use a monitor to kind of, you know, show them the perspective that I'm seeing, and they can have a say in, you know, things that they would like to include, things that they wouldn't like to include, and etc. This is the controller for Mavic 2 Pro. At the time of this recording, I think it's the only option for you to actually monitor the flight. There are, other displays out there that you can connect your goggles to them, but it won't display the flight for some reason. So DJI, unfortunately at this moment, it's the only way you can kind of see the flight, at least from a DJI drone. I mean, if I'm flying just by myself, then I wouldn't use a monitor, so that would make things a little bit faster and easier. But since we are flying for the masterclass, I think it's a good idea to include it then, so you guys can see what I'm seeing. So we'll start off with the 5-inch, just because that's the one that I'm more used to, and I also kind of prefer it, the way it flies. I just like it a bit more. But we might also try the 7-inch later. When you're strapping the battery on the drone, always make sure to strap it real tight so it doesn't fly off. And when you're connecting the cables, make sure that the cable that you check the voltage of the battery with, and you don't want to have that one hit the propellers. So always make sure that it's out of the way of the propellers. Same with the XT60 cable. Checking the image on the GoPro, and it looks pretty good. Usually I would use around 100 shutter speed and 4K at 4:3 aspect ratio to make sure that then later when I stabilize it in real steady will cut off the top and the bottom part, which will then result in a regular 16:9 ratio for YouTube, Facebook, whatever. 5500 white balance, which is daylight, and then the minimum ISO possible, depending on the conditions. I unfortunately lost my NDs with the previous drone, but usually I would use an ND filter to kind of lower the shutter speed. So today we'll have to go with a little bit of a higher shutter speed, so we won't get as much motion blur, but at least we'll still get good picture quality and we won't blow out the skies. But usually I would use an ND filter. Good. It's a bit scary. Was it fast? I think we can go a bit faster. Actually, one of the worst things that can happen to you is when you have a really good flight, then you come and turn off the GoPro, but instead of turning it off, you just turn it on. So don't forget to start the recording before you start flying. The next shot we'll do is gonna be the drone flying up high, then dropping down, going alongside the cliff, and then alongside the beach, maybe 100, 200 meters that way. So it'll be really cool to maybe have you there, kind of walking past the beach, taking photos, chatting. It'll be actually cool to have you both. So I think I'll fly from over here to get the best signal, coming down the cliff, and then alongside the beach. The signal is gonna have a clear way. There's no obstructions in the way, so it should have pretty good video and radio as well. That was a good one.